Welcome everyone to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Abitronistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security to defend Israel. It is a great privilege and pleasure to be joined today by the founder and chairman of IDSF, Brigadier General Amir Avivi. General, thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure.
Why don't we start off with a general update on what is happening right now in this war?
So I think that obviously one of the main things that are being discussed in Israel is whether there will be a hostage deal. And I just finished an interview on the radio where I was asked about the statement the Prime Minister released yesterday saying we're not going to agree to a hostage deal that includes the end of the war, that includes retreating from Philadelphia and basically enabling, again, the buildup of power inside Gaza. And the media is trying to give a message saying, yes, there are security high-ranking people that are saying that what Hamas is asking is possible, we should go to a deal. But the truth is that when you go to the details, you see that basically Hamas is pretty much at the same place where which we cannot agree to, which is stopping the war, opening again Philadelphia and enabling Hamas to build itself again from scratch. It's not things that Israel can agree to. And I think that in this sense, the cabinet, the prime minister, they felt that there is a need to clarify what are the red lines talking about a hostage deal. And therefore, at the moment, although it seems like Hamas is more open to discussions, I wouldn't say that really there is a dramatic change. It might be some change. Now, this suddenly willingness of Hamas to speak at all is probably due to the military pressure that it's experiencing. I can say that just in the last day in Rafah, Division 162 killed more than 30 terrorists. In Sajaiya, Division 98 killed dozens of terrorists. In the area of the Gaza City, Division 99 also attacked sites and killed terrorists. And the army is constantly attacking and degrading more and more and more Hamas capabilities. It's ongoing all the time. We got used to it, every day, 30 here, 20 there, 50 here. But when you accumulate the numbers, just last week, the chief of staff talked about 900 terrorists killed in Rafah alone. These are huge numbers. Just to get an understanding of the numbers in the 6-day war, if I remember correctly, I'm not sure I remember the exact number, but it was around 600 or 700 soldiers killed in the whole war, the 6-day war. It was a very big war. So 900 terrorists killed, it's a big number. And so obviously Hamas is more and more under pressure, but I'm not sure that we reach the breaking point that really will make Hamas say, okay, that's it, I need a deal, I need a ceasefire, and I'm willing to give up my demands for completely stopping the war or retreating from Philadelphia. I'm not sure we are in this stage at all. Probably we need more military pressure to reach this point. So we still see three divisions operating in Gaza, and things are ongoing. I don't see yet, cannot predict yet when the IDF will actually say, that's it, we broke Hamas as a military entity. They talked about weeks, we'll see, I don't know. We haven't taken yet all of Rafah, but at the same time, we see gradually the IDF moving more and more forces to the north, and the forces are training more and more to deal with North challenge. And it's obvious that we are reaching a point where really the state of Israel will have to decide where this is going and what is going to happen in the north. And my assessment hasn't changed. My assessment is that at the end of the day, reality is stronger than anything, and we'll have to fight, and we'll have to fight against Hezbollah in the north. But it seems like there is still motivation to try and reach some kind of ceasefire. Solution, withdrawal of Hezbollah diplomatically. But this is, to me, it's a kind of wishful thinking, and I'm not sure it's entirely connected to the reality on the ground. So we'll have to see how these things proceed. Now, with all this fighting in the north, Hezbollah keeps shooting constantly. They keep sending armed UAVs and shoot rockets on Israel. There are many, many events. I think that the life of these people in the north is terrible. And I'm not talking just about those who are in hotels all over the country. I'm talking about people who actually were not evacuated and constantly 10 times a day, 12 times a day, find themselves in shelters and not being able to really stick their head out of their home. I can say that just today, I do a lot of lectures all over Israel every week. And this week, started talking with people in Tzfat who want a lecture. But they said to me, you know, we want to do it a webinar because nobody is willing to leave home. Because they don't even want to go out, even 10 minutes walk or 20 minutes, drive to participate in a lecture. So they want to do it on Zoom. This is devastating. How long can we keep our society in this reality? And I know that it's a hard decision to say, okay, we're going to a full-scale war. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, we'll see shooting all over Israel, and it's hard, but we have to treat the people in the north and the south just as we treat the people in the center. And we cannot say they are less important, and we can live with a reality that they are not in their homes or they're not safe, because then people won't want to live in these areas. It's problematic. So I think that we'll have challenging days coming ahead, and we'll see what happens. Moshe, you want to ask some questions?
Yes, General, thank you for that update. And thank you, of course, to all of our viewers, all of our supporters for tuning into this briefing, for sending questions in the chat, or for sending me questions ahead of time. General, you've met many a times with the Prime Minister throughout this war, and to the extent which you can share with us, when you discuss the idea of a deal, a ceasefire with Hamas, is it a question about what the red lines are, or is it a question about the extent to which there should even be the discussion of a deal on the table? Meaning, should Israel be offering a deal? Because the way it's being portrayed in the media is the Prime Minister is in favor of a deal. It's just the questions of the terms.
Well, I think that I feel that the Prime Minister definitely, feels responsible to bring the hostages and is willing to do a deal, as long as it's in the perimeters that Israel can agree. Israel is agreeing to basically do a ceasefire of a month and a half to get 33 hostages who are alive and then renew the war. I think that also the US and Qatar, Egypt, everybody, they said all along, Israel has done, gave up a lot, and Israel has put a fair deal and expected Hamas to accept the deal of Israel, and Hamas is constantly rejecting it and again saying, we want the end of the war. We want reassurances from the US that the war won't continue. This is not the deal. The deal is a month and a half ceasefire, and then war renews. Before, the deal was 2 weeks ceasefire. For 2 weeks ceasefire, we got more than 100 hostages. Now we're talking a month and a half ceasefire for 33 hostages. And it's 33. We're talking about 120 hostages. The whole deal is not even talking about giving back all our hostages. It's just part of them. So I would say this: providing that we are controlling the Egyptian border and Hamas cannot rebuild itself by bringing munitions from Egypt, and providing that Hamas is willing to constantly release hostages, probably Israel would agree to extend this ceasefire more and more, but as long as they release hostages. And they're not talking about that. They are saying we'll release the 33 hostages and then that's it. The war needs to end. You need to retreat. Okay, and what about all the other hostages? And what about our need to destroy Hamas? It simply doesn't make sense. So this is why things are not really moving ahead, and we don't see a deal.
You're looking at Israel's northern border. How do you think that the U.S. elections play into the timing for Israel to escalate or to go to a full-scale war with Hezbollah? Is there some type of wait time right now in terms of understanding what will happen in the U.S., or a need to speed things up depending on what happens?
When I think about the timing and the U.S., I think more about what it means to Iran and Hezbollah, because they have now certainty. They know this administration, they know the policies, they have seen that they can really attack Israel and nothing serious happens. So, and they don't know what will happen in the elections. So if I was Iran or Hezbollah, I would think, okay, this is my moment. I mean, if I need to really attack Israel, it seems that this is a good timing because the US is busy with elections. They don't really want to intervene in a big war. They won't do anything serious. Why not attack? So this is very dangerous for us. And when we look at the other side, we need to understand it's not just a question of what we do. It's a question of what they're going to do. And if they attack us first, this is devastating. We cannot have another 7th of October. So there are really big issues on the table that we need to assess. And then, understanding that, we need to decide. Now, I don't think that really the big decision-making in Israel on our side is dependent on the elections. If Israel needs to attack, Israel needs to attack, regardless of the elections. And maybe I'm thinking, the overall picture, you might think that maybe Netanyahu's speech in the Congress might be like, might affect the consideration of the timing. Maybe he wants to speak first to other than that, Israel needs to are being shot all over the place. I mean, we're in a war. We don't have to declare war. We're simply in a war. We're being shot. We need to retaliate. And I really hope that the government and the army, they will do the right thing. Really create the terms needed to bring back 80,000 people back home safely.
If we did go to a full-scale war with Hezbollah, is there a major concern of other parties in the area, of Iran itself or the Iranian militias in the north, or even Egypt joining in? Are we looking at a multi-front war at that point, or it's solely focused on Hezbollah?
Well, we are in a multi-front war, maybe not a full-scale one, but we have been shot from everywhere: Iraq, Yemen, Syria. Definitely, there might be also shooting from other places. We need to take that in account. But again, this is part of the challenge that we are facing. We have seen militias also in South Syria. And indeed, if this is, we'll see militias moving from all the Middle East, then there is the question, is the US going to stand decide and not do anything, when Israel is attacked from all these fronts simultaneously, I would expect the US to stand with Israel. Because they're not trying just to undermine Israel, they're trying to undermine the US and the whole Western world. We are the front of this global fight. But it's not just about us. So definitely we are in very crucial moments. And we'll see, you know, where all this is going.
Now, at the beginning of the war, the U.S. had, I believe, more military assets in the Mediterranean than they have now. So would they be positioned to assist the U.S. if necessary, to assist Israel if necessary?
So I think that what we can count on is U.S. assisting, talking about defense, about helping with the air defense. I think the U.S. has many capabilities that can assist us in defending the cities in Israel against Iranian or Hezbollah attack. I don't know and I don't see at the moment any motivation to assist on the offensive side, helping attack our enemies. But definitely on the defensive side, I would assume that all this buildup of force that we see around us, they will assist us if needed.
We continuously see in the media reports of the IDF returning to places that they had cleared out in Gaza, and those reports are kind of painting the IDF as not being effective the first time around. You have spoken about this issue ad nauseum, but please, for the sake of clarity, are you just able to explain why we keep seeing more operations in Gaza where it's already been cleared?
Yes, it's because you know, every time you attack, it's not that all the terrorists stay there and wait, fight, and die. Many of them run away. They hide in the society. You know, they don't have uniform. You cannot recognize them. And then they try to regroup and come back. And it's a process. It's a process that continuously you have to degrade these capabilities. It's a process, and it will take a long time. It's not going to happen shortly. It's a process, and we don't have to be discouraged by that. This is the kind of warfare we are dealing with.
There was a recent report that on October 7th, some of the bases in the Gaza area took extreme measures to prevent IDF soldiers from being taken hostage or captive into Gaza. Are you familiar with any of those reports, and can you explain what the Army protocol is to prevent hostages being taken from Israeli Army bases?
You're talking about fighters on the ground or what? Not sure I understood, Moshe.
Okay, so there's this the Hannibal directive that they're talking about making sure that live hostages of the army soldiers are not taking it into Gaza.
Well, I think that, you know, the IDF for years is dealing with protocols of really doing what needs to be done, not to have soldiers being taken as hostages. And in the fighting, there are many protocols that assure that. And I think it's happy that throughout these 9 months of war, this is something that we were always really worried that as we are fighting, you know, they will take hostages, more hostages. Because they want to try to do that. They did that in Operation Protective Edge. But so far, the IDF managed to fight in a way that prevented this, and I hope it will continue like that. I'm not sure, but I hope so.
Okay, and final question about the flow of weapons into Gaza. Are things still moving through the Philadelphia corridor? Are things still moving from Egypt into Gaza, and they just continuously are being supplied?
I don't know, but I do know that once the IDF will completely destroy all the tunnels connecting Egypt and Gaza, and providing that the IDF will stay there and monitor not only underground, but also above ground, I think we will be definitely in a situation that where we can prevent this buildup of power. There is no way to control this from afar. Anybody who says, we'll let the Egyptians deal with this, we'll have technologies, we'll do it from afar, is simply portraying a reality that doesn't exist. The only way to really make sure that there is no buildup of fire, you need to be physically on the ground and deal with this.
Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, for sharing your expertise, and for fighting for Israel. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will be back with you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. in Israel. Till then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.